Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle with ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Good morning and welcome to Africa's Finest Breakfast Show. Today is Friday, the 23rd day of August 2024, and we're drawing real close to the end of August, and this is when most times workers, the Nigerian workers, begin to smile and they're happy because payday is around the corner, and today we intend to make payday come even earlier by giving you very fantastic things making the rounds across the globe with lots of stories, entertainment, and big stories in business, sports, and in between. And of course, world-class guests with very vital topics that's going to shape your mindset as regards how you're going to relate with fellow citizens and the world in general today. My name is Anthony Momodi. Welcome to today's edition of the program, Global Morning. I'm not alone. As usual, I've got the Queen by my side.
Good morning, Anthony.
Good morning, Queen.
Here. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. I can't do any less when I've got the Queen by my side. Now I'm a full king.
Absolutely. A whole lot lined up for our viewers this morning in terms of content.
Content, true.
Newspaper reviews and topical issues
for discuss
with our guests. I'm pretty excited. And then you mentioned something about almost the end of August when workers would be smiling. You have that smile already, like something has happened, something has been done already.
Okay, that part is. I think, I was speaking with Mr. Ezekiel when it was on the 20th. Mr. Ezekiel was like a time frame like 20th. It was like the 20th too early, and so like it's a normal stuff. Payday is always a day where workers are happy, employers are not happy.
And then I saw a joke where someone mentioned, it was online, the person said, it's already 25th of the month, I have to start laughing at my employer's joke, even though they're not funny. You just have to laugh. They say one and then you have to laugh because, payday is
coming. All right. All right, so that's part of the drill, and we hope we're already making you laugh. And there's one key thing: you have to be happy, regardless of whatever situation you find yourself. They say, when there's life, there's hope, and we're under the regime of the Renewed Hope Agenda. So it means every new day, there's a hope that things are going to get better across the world. But in Nigeria, it's like every new day, there's a new drama. And it takes us to one interesting talking point we're going to share with you before we start the paper reviews and give you all the big stories. Though this story happens to come from one of the national dailies, but it's a very interesting talking point that has been ongoing for weeks, and now it's heading to a month. Talking about the seizure of Nigerian presidential jets everywhere you go. Recently there was one that just occurred, which we'll be talking about. But before we do that, we'd like to share with you some of the lavish spendings of the current administration. And in case you do not know, one of them is the 150 billion naira presidential jet, and there's also the 5 billion naira yacht that was also bought. So there's continuous this public outrage to trail the purchase of the new presidential jet by the Bola Tinubu administration. The government's decision to allocate over 150 billion naira for the purchase of the aircraft at a time when Nigerians are grappling with economic environment and a lingering cost of living crisis, which has angered many. The Tinubu's policies of subsidy removal and exchange rates unification has led to increases in the prices of commodities, which experts believe are driving the current inflation. Also, the president has, in the past 1 year, urged Nigerians to bear with the hardship occasioned by those policies. But the interesting part of this whole issue is the fact that the government does not appear keen to follow its own counsel, as inflation currently stands at 33%. At a point, it went almost hitting 40%. Currently, there are reviews in most media houses that the lavish purchase under the current administration started with the Airbus 330, that's A330, which replaced the 19-year-old Boeing B737, but under the presidency of Olusegun Obasanjo, reportedly cost the Nigerian government at least $100 million. That's for the first one. Queen, as we look at the lavish, first of all is the Airbus, which was currently bought now. For you, are you among those who feel like the purchase of the Airbus at this time wasn't a fair deal?
Yes. You know, the presidency and our government officials have always urged us to make sacrifices. Nigerians, you have to make sacrifices. The period where we are is a very crucial one in transitioning from the economy that we're currently experiencing to the economy that we want to see. And so we're told that we should endure and make, you know, reasonable sacrifices. For the most part, in fact, in the last 7 to 8 months, or beyond, in fact, since the administration of President Bola Tinubu, Nigerians have had to make sacrifices. Honestly, because how do you explain the rise in essential commodities, food items, and everything, and then there's no commensurate increase in your salary or, you know, wages, whatever it is that you earn, and you ultimately have to make sacrifices. We've had to cut down on, you know, some of the things that we usually consider as luxury to the essentials. Nigerians have had to do that. But in the case of the government, in the case of, you know, our leaders, we don't see that. So it's more often, most likely, that there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect.
That's okay.
They don't know, they don't understand the plight of Nigerians, because we see them buy lavish cars, we see an increase in their own salaries. We see, at this point in time, I think the sacrifice making should come from these people. We should see that there shouldn't be increments in salaries for senators at this point in time. You know, so until we transition,
when they're already earning more than enough.
We talk about their allowances and all of that. At least we should see that they are making sacrifices too. Some cars that are considered luxurious should not be acquired at this point in time, you know, in terms of millions. And when they decided to make
sacrifices, they termed it for only 6 months and only for their basic salary, not for the main allowances, which was and all of that.
Very
huge.
So we want to see that. And then the acquiring of a presidential debt, first of all, I want to say that the seizures that we've experienced by Chinese court, and now another Chinese investment company of that sort seizing our presidential jet is appalling and embarrassing, I must say. And then acquiring another presidential jet at this point in time, make it make sense. Who isn't making sacrifices at this point in time? So we want to see that reflect.
All right, a very interesting commentary. The last one we heard about was the one in Canada, the seizure, the latest seizure. And it's interesting. It looks like Nigeria has got presidential jet everywhere you go. So every country, there's a presidential jet. That's very mind-boggling. Also, last year, there was a significant backlash against the government for the planned purchase of a presidential yacht. In the 2023 supplementary budget of $2.17 trillion naira. 2.17 trillion naira. The president proposed a 5 billion naira for the procurement of the presidential yacht, and the opera over the proposal led to the National Assembly declining the request and diverting the money towards other expenses. However, according to several sources, the yacht had already arrived in the country at that point. The government has neither confirmed or denied this, and it's been learned that the House of Representatives is putting pressure on the Navy to return the ship to the vendor. And not aside the yacht that was purchased, we also have the issue of another very interesting point where the controversial expense since the administration took is the 21 billion naira spent on the completion of the official residence of the vice president. This is, you're wondering, 21 billion naira, what are they trying to put into the house? Are they saying the former vice presidents were living outside? I don't understand that. Yeah. We had Yemi Oshibanjo and co, Namandi Sambo and co. Weren't they staying somewhere? How come selling those houses or residences were not good enough that if the Shettima had to 21 billion?
So Anthony, you see, this is the thing we talk about cost of governance. We need to cut the cost of governance here, particularly in Nigeria. I mean, continuity. What happens when a former vice president leaves office or
he doesn't go with it. He doesn't go with the house.
All of those things, but you see what happens. Why I think that there's a disconnect, like from the plight of the people. Let's not even talk about where we are now. Let's talk about even if we had a stable economy. What happens to continuity? The vice president leaves. What happens to his house? The next person comes. The least you can do is maybe make a little a bit of
moderations,
or moderations or alterations to your taste, of which I don't think that the vice president will live in a house that requires, constant renovation now and then. So why is there a need for you to acquire, looking at, the most vital part is looking at where
the current situation. And you're asking Nigerians to...
It's conflicting. It's conflicting, and I don't think that now is the right point in time to make such decisions and such lavish spending on a house.
And not forgetting that we also had the 160 million naira cars for National Assembly members, talking about the fact that they had their own share of luxury, the purchase of luxurious sports utility vehicles, which was believed to cost 160 million naira per unit for members of the House. It is unclear what the Senate received, but they are expected to get more. You can imagine how disheartening this was. And when they were questioned why they had to buy SUVs, the answer was that our roads were bad. So for Nigerians that didn't have SUVs and the roads are bad, they should just go and...
borrow.
Maybe, borrow?
Behind the boot of someone who has.
So it just tells you. So these are some of the very disturbing issues that has played out, and not also forgetting the fact that the government also spent 90 billion on the 2024 Hajj pilgrimage to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It could be recorded that the devaluation of the naira led to the sharp increase in the cost of Hajj for 2024 exercise. And this same Hajj exercise, it was found that the chairman of the Hajj Commission is currently dancing with the EFCC for 90 billion naira monies fraud. Fraud. He paid himself, his secretaries and co as much as they wanted. So it just tells you that everything goes in circles. Meanwhile, Nigerians are still being told to bear, to do the sacrifice, not to protest, not to cough. And when they did try to protest, they said it was not real, that it was a sponsored protest. So that's where I agree with your disconnect. Also, so those are some of the very biting issues playing out in Nigeria, and very disturbing, and not something anybody would like to talk about early in the morning, but that's the reality we find ourselves. And just to add the gloss to it, we cannot also forget that 1.5 billion naira cars for Office of the First Lady throw this into the mix. And so it means Nigerians have had a complicated relationship with the Office of the First Lady due to the overbearing nature of its occupants, who, despite being unelected, are notorious for intruding into governance, according to reports reaching us. There is also the cost associated with running the office, which is largely a ceremonial role. In the 2023 supplementary budget, it said that the government proposed 1.5 billion to buy vehicles for that office. All right, very interesting expenditure all through. And just before we go to the papers, we had the former CJN finally bow out in style with Wike giving a very interesting talking point. The Minister of the FCT, Nelson Wike, described the outgoing CJN as a man of integrity, wisdom, and unwavering dedication to the rule of law. What else did you expect him to say when he granted I think that's his daughter, and we had siblings of those in government being given Chief Justice. You call, so at times when they make this statement, they make it look like Nigerians can read in between the lines. We don't understand. We don't know what corporate ethics is. So it's very disturbing. As much as we say, well done for leaving the judiciary the way it is. The current, state of the judiciary. We've got the last, survey that was done. Judiciary termed the most corrupt agency, and this same CJN told us that if the judiciary is not well paid, we should expect very interesting, rulings, and that's what we've been saying. So I don't know where Wike is getting his own, statistics from, but that's what we see. All right, I think we've given you enough of what's playing out in Nigeria already. In the U.S., they're backing Kamala Harris. We know that yesterday Oprah Winfrey came out to say she is the woman they would be supporting, and told Americans, vote for joy. So it means Kamala Harris brings joy. brings joy. So it means she's getting all the needed support. Yeah. How do you think this is going to pan out? The fact that she's actually getting all the support she needs.
Yes, I think it's interesting that she's getting all of the support that she needs. But, elections, you can never really tell. You could get all of the applause and all of that. But the people who do the voting and, they will determine, so the applause is different, so you don't get carried away by the applause. But I like the fact that knowing that Kamala Harris is a woman and she's representing all of the women in, not just in America, but globally. And then the support from Obama and the rest is interesting to know. But I wish her the very best, and let's see how the election pans out.
All right, so we'll be watching keenly to see the man described as dangerous, Donald Trump. So we'll see how it's going to pan out. But for sure, it's going to be a very interesting U.S. election race. All right, let's give you some little bit of sport to douse the tension already created. And when we come back from the sporting news, then we'll be giving you some other very interesting talking points as we delve straight into looking at what the papers have got in store.
Hello, sport fans. Welcome to Sports News Update. Let's begin from Germany, where Bayern Munich manager Vincent Kompany did not want to sell Matthias de Ligt to Manchester United this summer, and even told the Dutchman that he was his number one defender. The centre-back moved to the Old Trafford club for £38.5 million. With a further £5 million add-ons last week, and was named on the bench for the side's opening fixture of the Premier League season against Fulham. The former Ajax captain, 25, previously worked with United manager Erik ten Hag at the Dutch club before his departure for Juventus in 2019, and the boss was keen to link up with the defender for some time. He came through the door with teammate Nausea Maruzu in the deal that seemed to come out of nowhere and was completed very quickly. But now it has been revealed that his former boss, Kompany, actually wanted to keep hold of the defender, and the decision to sell him was made by the club executives. Arsenal have agreed a £32.67 million deal in principle with Real Sociedad to sign midfielder Mikel Merino. The initial fee of £28.43 million with a further £4.24 million in add-ons. The 28-year-old has agreed a 4-year contract with the option of a further year subject to passing medical. The Gunners, who fell the wrong side of the two-horse race for the Premier League title against Serie A champions Manchester City last season, have already boosted their ranks this summer with the arrival of ex-Bologna defender Riccardo Calafori, but haven't identified midfield as a key area to strengthen ahead of the summer transfer deadline. Arsenal have been in advanced talks with La Liga outfit Real Sociedad in an effort to lure the Spaniard to the Emirates. Merino returned
All right, we'll be going for the paper review segment in a bit. Just for you to know that as we look at the papers, we'll be giving you all the top stories. We'll be looking at the national dailies, The Guardian, The Punch, the Daily Post, The Vanguard, The Guardian. And the idea is to give you update as regards what the papers is saying today, the 23rd day of August, 2024, and so that you could be well, vested in what is happening and possibly also know the weather conditions out there. But before we run into the papers, you did talk about the fact that a Chinese firm, talking about Zhongshan, had seized another presidential jet. Despite
had a hard time.
Despite our efforts trying to save the presidential jet some days back, and now the next one is seized. Are you not worried the fact that it seems that Nigeria has got presidential jets in every nook and cranny of the world? And how are we paying and sustaining these aircrafts?
Yes, it's worrisome. I would always refer back to where we are presently, where we are as a nation, where we are as a country, the difficulties that we face. And you know how much it costs having to leave a jet by the hangar for that long period of time, or even a day or two. You know how much that is.
And we're not paying in Naira.
Yes, we're not paying in Naira, obviously, because it's not in Nigeria. And if we bring back those monies that, we spend on some of these things that are not necessary, it could do us a whole lot, do some Nigerians a whole lot in terms of, augmenting, in certain areas. So I think that it's a cause for concern as well. What are presidential jets doing by these hangars scattered around the globe? And, knowing where we are, knowing the circumstances, particularly the fact that the business deal between the Ogun state government and then that Chinese company, I'm wondering how long has this been for? Obviously, before it would get to a Chinese court, it means that it must have been taken, our judiciary must have been called upon and, to
obviously,
look into, this matter. And maybe they weren't getting
the response.
The needed as to how long this debt, this breach of agreement has been, and so it had to be taken to. Obviously, there would have been certain considerations, a lot of considerations, before the Chinese court would have, decided that that presidential jet be seized there in
the Canadian court. Granted.
there was a Chinese. The first jet was seized in in France,
yeah.
where a
court in
France, I beg your pardon, a court in France, the deal was with a Chinese investment company. So that happened, and I'm saying that before that could have happened, they would have tried several means, several ways to be able to resolve this, got into the judiciary here in Nigeria, and they were not getting commensurate response as to how and where that bill will be sorted, and so they had to, and it must have lingered for a while. If you read through that story, they had to, take it to the Chinese court before the court in France. I beg your pardon. I don't know what's wrong with me and Chinese. The court in France before that jet was seized there in France, and while it was seized there in France, the concern also is the amount of money we're paying for that jet to be parked where it was before it was seized as well. So all of these are things that we should, worry about.
All right, very disturbing, and it's now time for us. We'll go for a quick break and see what the papers are saying. Not to forget that the Supreme Court of Nigeria will today, talking about Friday, deliver the final judgment in the disputes that arose in the conduct of governorship elections in Bayelsa and Kogi State in 2023. So that's one of the key talking points because the Apex Court had on Monday took arguments from the lawyers representing various candidates in the dispute and reserved judgment. So today is a D-Day for politicians and stakeholders in Kogi and Bayelsa State. So let's go for a quick break. When we return from this break, it's Paper Review. Stay with us.
Many thanks for staying with us. Well, it's time for us to bring the papers for you. And today we'll be beginning with the Daily Trust. We'll be starting with the Daily Trust. On the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper, big story we have there says, Kaduna villagers accuse soldiers of killing 3 persons and 100 cows. Rider there says that demand compensation, Army chief orders investigation. I wonder why that is. We look to see the details of that story for you. We also have North Central members insist on APC chairmanship. Kano water contract scam, 3 local government chairmen in agencies' custody. National Hospital plans VIP section for president. We also have curfew in Sokoto community as youths protest killing of district head. These are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, very interesting. National Hospital have plans for VIP segment for president. And I hope that will make the president not travel out of the country to seek medical attention, but expecting even more from National Hospital that would focus on the citizens rather than the elites who already have options on how to get medical attention. Probably they would focus on the citizens and provide less expensive medical quality services to Nigerians. Would be a more welcome talk from the National Hospital. All right, let's look at what the Punch newspaper has in store for us as we look at the big stories with the punchy headlines. I'll begin with Dangote Refinery begins petrol production test run. Dangote Refinery begins petrol production test run. That's the big headline story there coming out from the Punch newspaper. We've got Tinubu cuts short France trip, swears in CJN today. Tinubu cuts short France trip, swears in CJN today is a big story, and you can find that only on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And more punchy headlines, NNPC directors' expenses jump by 214%, says report. All right, we're still looking at the Punch newspaper. We've got landowners sue federal government over 15 trillion naira Lagos Calabar highway is the headline story. Landowners sue federal government over 15 trillion naira Lagos Calabar highway is the big headline story there. And it has underneath it, Umahi vows to continue project, insists government paying compensation. Federal government rules out new roads in 2025, plans to complete existing projects. Those are the headline stories in Punch. Let's look below. We've got Minister, right, France Ministry over SANU. That's the headline story there. Then we've got other headline stories. We've got a bandit kill 13 Niger farmers. Very sad commentary there. All right, let's move on to other stories from other papers. But before we do that, we've got a landowner sue federal government over 15 trillion naira Lagos Calabar highway. This highway has caused lots of debate and issues.
And the sad thing is that the highway is not even, because of the telecoms,
the cables underneath,
yeah. And so, but destructions have been made already. Houses, buildings demolished, and it's still costing more until now. And this is why we talk about adequate preparation
before you
kickstart
any project.
But here we just see that project kickstarts almost immediately. Demolitions upon demolitions, and then the project that is supposed to start.
There needs that kind of urgency.
We see the urgency in demolition, and the project halts. People are displaced, and then for a long period of time, that project that caused the demolition is not started, or it takes longer to be completed. Just years, and time upon time. So, but it's quite sad. And then these people demanding...
Yeah, so do you think there's a foul play somewhere? We were told like 2 months ago that the federal government had begun the compensation, payment of compensation. They were told to bring certain documentations to prove that they had houses of properties within that line where the project was taking place. And Dave Umahi had assured Nigerians that compensation had started getting to the rightful owners. But now the landlords are suing the federal government for 15 trillion. That seems to suggest that they are not receiving their payment. And that's a very sad commentary for the government that had already assured Nigerians that the needful had been done.
And we want to also see transparency in the process where this money is disbursed or given to the people who require compensation. Can we have a more transparent system so that, because if it were so, we would not be hearing about the landlords.
Yeah, and what determines how much you get? Is it the face value of your property, or the how large it is?
The revenue or the business that was disrupted from that property.
True, it's very key too.
Let's see proper assessment, how it was before, before this disbursement.
All right, so those are some of the headline stories from the Punch newspaper. Let's move on to other national dailies and see what they've got in store for us as we headlines. All the big papers are making their rounds. In case you're just joining us, you're watching Global Morning on Global Television, and we're looking at what the papers are saying this morning. We've got The Guardian up next. We've got some of the big stories in The Guardian.
Big story says, insurgency in the northeast, I beg your pardon. Thousands in dire straits as supports dry up in border towns. Rather, big story, page 4 and 5 of The Guardian newspaper. And then we see, the Guardian newspaper is always up for graphics, visual representation of, the stories. And then we see something like a cartoon, humanitarian funding, IDP camp, and then we see the people who are supposed to, it's like a tank, disbursing, they're supposed to disburse funds, but it's a tank that has water in it.
Yeah, water is life.
But then we see the people who need water with their buckets queued up, and then
there's no water coming out.
There's a lock somewhere with a parrot or a vulture, locking that tap, and we see the hungry people or thirsty people, and their mouth underneath that tap trying to get water from a locked tap that is supposed to be for humanitarian fund that's supposed to be disbursed is locked. So I just think it's a visual representation of how the system is, funds meant for the people. These people do not have access to these funds, no matter how meager or how
and you can see the attire representing the zone where this is happening, insurgency in the northeast, and very creative work there. But very sad commentary. This is the truth of what Nigerians are going through. All right, still looking at The Guardian and all the big headline story there. We've got, don't destroy PDP, Dele Momodu warns as party crisis worsens. All right, knocks for immigration over passport fee hike. It's a big story there. Other headlines, CJN is the kicker there. Tinubu to swear in Kekere Ukun as
Chief Justice.
Yes, Chief Justice. Court discharges 6. Okay, that's not very clear. Court discharges 6 for EndSARS protest after 4 years. That's quite a very long time. Court discharges 6 for hashtag EndSARS protesters after 4 years. So you can imagine those that were arrested for the hashtag End Bad Governance, how long they would have to wait to get justice. So those are some of the big time stories on The Guardian newspaper this morning. Let's move on to, we've got The Nation's newspaper up next for review. As we look at the papers, we've got no room for subversive moves, federal government warns. That's the first headline story there that we've got on top of the nameplate, Minister and ASU to meet Monday over strike at TREF. Very important, the meet to avert any more crisis in the education sector. We've got a budget 2025 to focus on essential projects. Budget 2025 to focus on essential projects. Target is a full funding, says the government. Ongoing roadworks will be completed, says Umahi. 51% of farming areas threatened by famine. Those are some of the headline stories on the nation's newspaper. Any of them catching your attention?
All of them catches my attention. Minister ASU to meet Monday over strike threats. That catches my attention because I'm particular about the educational system in Nigeria. And I also understand what it's like to be in school and then be disrupted over time, you know, as a result of strike and as a result of some parties in government not doing what is expected of them. So the fate of the Nigerian student is, you know, they're just left to their fate. Nigerian students are left to their fate. So a course that's supposed to take you, say, 4 years because of the consistent strike takes you 6-7 years. And, you know, there's a delay, there's a disruption. And some people even get tired along the way and just say, you know what, let me move into, let me just, you know, drop out or, you know, get something doing, get married, and they lose interest in the school. But there's something about, yes, there's something about when you are supposed to be in school and you're in school, there's that consistency. Your brain does not observe any break.
It doesn't shut down. There's no mental block.
You're not discouraged. It's interesting to know that you enter into school with a plan for a 4-year course, and in 4 years, you are done and you are out and you're in the labor market. Some people cannot even serve their country because of this disruption. You see some people who maybe started school early, but because of consistent strikes, you know, in our Nigerian universities, they pass the age for
the service year.
And it's disheartening, and they can't serve, they can't even experience, you know, what it's like to be in another region, to serve your country or to mix up. So I think that I look forward to the time where the talk of ASU and NASU going on strike will be a thing of the past. I really hope we get there someday.
I hope you had the experience of serving.
I did. Of course I did. Did you?
Yes, I did. Served in Bayelsa. All right, let's move on with other big stories. And for me, I think I like the issue about the budget 2025 in focus on essential, you know, issues or projects. And the question will be, what is essential to the government? I hope is essential to the people, because that's where there's going to be a disconnect. Because if the government feels A is essential to them, because probably some persons in that ministry or in that sector is going to benefit, and for the people, the Nigerian people, that's not what they deem essential, then that's going to be you know, a disconnect, and that project will not serve the interests of the Nigerian people. All right, let's move on. Just before we leave the nation's newspaper, there's a picture story there of the First Lady doling out some cash to petty traders in the country, which that should be a positive one. 1.85 billion naira grant to 37,000 women, petty traders. That's the First Lady there, Oluremi, doing the needful, trying to help the women folk to be able to provide for their families and children.
Yeah, that's commendable.
Yeah, that's commendable. And we just hope that the women who need it most get these funds, and not a specific group of women. And I hope it cuts across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, because it's very essential, not probably just focus on Lagosians or certain group. That would make more sense when every part of the country and the women in the marketplaces, petty traders, real petty traders, get that fund. It will help a whole lot. So I want to say kudos to the First Lady for reaching out to women petty traders across the country. All right, let's move on to the next newspaper.
On this day, on the front page of this day newspaper, which is our next point of call, big story there says, NSA, terrorism has left profound and painful mark on Nigeria. No doubt, I completely agree. Terrorism has done a whole lot in Nigeria. The writer there says that insists war against terror can't be fought alone, seeks global collaboration. Army chief inaugurates multiple projects as Count Brigade, if I'm not mistaken, U.S. State Department working with Nigeria and other African countries to ward off instability. And lastly, Tinubu, we are making firm steps to secure nation and counter desperate acts of terrorism, according to the president. Above the nameplate, we have Edun launches single window project to boost trade and economic growth. FIRS, NSIA designated as implementing agencies. Despite exiting oil downstreams in 2015, Atiku accuses the Tinubus of owning OVH. That story is on page 3 of this day newspaper when you pick a copy. Damagun says, I am contemplating vying for presidency because I've become so popular. Anthony, I see you chuckling.
Yeah, because I'm just wondering where he got that statistics from, that he's so popular, probably amongst the PDP faithfuls, and because as much as I know, it's only when there's crisis about the PDP, we had an name pop out, but that's him just being sarcastic there, trying to say that he's been hunted everywhere he goes, but that's very interesting. I think popularity, does it win presidency?
But it puts you out there, not necessarily win presidency, but when
because Peter Obi was very popular.
Peter Obi was very popular, true.
And he didn't win presidency. Atiku Abubakar was popular, but he didn't win the presidency.
But, they at least got to some level of, winning the presidency. So for you to become a president, obviously you have to be known for people to, vote you. He says he won't be intimidated by critics over letter to appeal courts. And we have other riders there for you. Family of Kashim Imam wants Atiku's daughter Hafsat in marriage. And then we see
Ribadu paying homage.
Yeah, paying homage to Atiku Abubakar right there.
This comment, what we already know, I think projects have been put in place to ensure that there's a final, if not final, but very close, 90%, success. That donated about 40 billion naira during the positive. Then just tell us what we already know, that, because that's where we know that we're heading towards the right direction. All right, moving on. Let's see if we've got more papers to look at. Yes, we've got the Vanguard.
Big story on the Vanguard. We have End Bad Governance, release detained protesters now. Nigeria's trade surplus rises 145% to $8.26 billion. I beg your pardon, from 145% to $8.26 billion. State House 2025 budget will be on actual requirements, according to presidency.
So it's...
What are the actual requirements?
So does it mean before now there were not actual requirements, they were padded requirements? Is that what it's trying to suggest? Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Hopefully the presidency will tell us what are the actual requirements. Then there's a pay rise.
Pay rise, yeah, MBA.
Ask judges to revive public trust. Why does the public trust or the integrity of the MBA or the judiciary have to be tied to money? So it probably tells us why we're getting those conflicting rulings. Pay rise, MBA ask judges to revive public trust. That pay rise, it makes it very, very intriguing. We've got Ajero police summons as the kicker there. Obi cautions federal government as Nupeng puts oil workers on red alert. I hope they're not trying to cause another fuel crisis, which we're already in one, but having them go on strike again would make it even more difficult. Very disturbing headline story there coming out from Nupeng, putting workers on red alert. Okay, that's the Vanguard there.
Our next point of call would be the Daily Independent for you. The Daily Independent. On the front page of the Daily Independent, big story we have there says, Tinubu's government won't tolerate subversion under any guise. According to the federal government, says President's administration has clear mandate of the people. And also, BPP blocks shady procurement processes, says 1.7 trillion naira in 13 years. Presidency lists how it will determine allocations in 2025 budget. Oando completes $783 million Nigerian Ajib Oil Company acquisition deal. And then underneath the nameplate, 16 trillion naira needed to complete projects inherited by Tinubu government. Then we also have FG unveils the national plan to combat non-communicable diseases in Nigeria. That's an interesting one, and we look forward to it. Pengassan blames weak distribution chain for persistent fuel queues. I beg your pardon. 6 NSAS protesters regain freedom in plea bargain deal with Lagos government. NNPC explains OVH acquisition, says as commercial entity, it is devoid of political interest. Adopt Okpara's leadership, model and prosper. Uzodinma urges leaders. Sacked Benue APC Exco drags Ganduje-led NWC to court over dissolution. Army orders probe into killing of Kaduna villagers by soldiers. And lastly, we have Tinubu to swear in Justice Kudirat Kekere Ekun as CJN today. These are the stories on the Independent, quite a truckload. Anthony, you were chuckling at some point from some of the headlines.
Very interesting headlines, many of them, but Tinubu's government won't tolerate subversion under any guise. Very stern, very authoritative, shows how, focused the government is. But yes, they've got the clear mandate of the people, but the clear mandate of the people, they didn't say make the people suffer. Make the people experience insecurity, high electricity tariff, lack of more fair queues. Those are not the mandate of the people. Yes, they gave you the mandate, but are you carrying out the mandate is the question the government is not answering. Is the mandate meant for you to try to bully the people not to speak out when they feel you're not getting the job done? No. So government, yes, you've got the mandate of the people, but the mandate of the people is to protect lives and property of Nigerians, make sure that standard of living is better, not the opposite. So we don't get it all twisted. So, and that's one of the issues I find very interesting, that you also talked about some of the federal government unveils national plan to combat non-communicable diseases in Nigeria. That's what I was talking about when the NSA was telling us about the mark insecurity has left us. We want to see national plans on how to fight insecurity, the hunger in the land, and other very strategic facets of our national lives. That would make Nigerians more confident of this present administration.
Yes, and Anthony, when we talk about the marks that insecurity has left in Nigeria and in the lives of Nigerians, aside from the economic downturn that insecurity creates as well, because no economy can thrive in an insecure environment. The exit of multinationals as well, companies, because they feel or they think that their lives, their investments and the lives of their staffs, businesses as well, is not safe here. That alone is enough to, take any economy back by a step or two. But we don't talk about the trauma that individuals face from terrorism. Take, for instance, the Chibok girls, the very few that, you know, we hear of now who are with their families now. Some of them, we don't know the aftercare that was given to these children after they left, you know, the den or the camp of these kidnappers. They have been traumatized. Let's talk about kidnapped victims as well, who after ransom is paid are left to their families. What happens to them? Let's talk about people who have been stabbed even in the FCT here when on their way back from work, you know, because of the high level of terrorism, high level of, you know, insecurity here. What becomes of them? The one-chance victims, what becomes of them? When they go home, these people, some of them struggle with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Some of them are so insecure. A lot of people are injured, you know. And we don't have a system where after all of this trauma, they are recuperated. Like we don't have, take for instance, when people encounter or, you know, encounter physical injuries, they're taken to the hospitals. But how about those psychological injuries? No much awareness in terms of maybe psychiatric, you know, hospital, or seeing a therapist, or seeing, you know, a counselor, or seeing, you know, all of those are not created for those students as well that we see them released in which states, school children, primary school children, or thereabout, that we see they were abducted and then later released. What happens to them? Some of these people experience trauma, and so that is one of the things that also takes us aback, because we have a lot of injured people, wounded, injuries that we don't see physically, but they are, you know, traumatic.
All right, well said. Those are some of the key issues the government would need to focus on as we look at issues. And I think I will go for a very quick break. It's about time we go for Global.
Global AM News.
Yeah, we'll go for a quick break to bring you the Global AM News. And after then, I will continue with all other goodies in store just for you. Stay with us.
By your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your limit.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Imo State Governor Hope Uzodinma has called on politicians to emulate the exemplary life of late Michael Okpara. The governor made the call at the Michael Okpara Leadership Lecture and Awards 2024 in Abuja. Uzodinma further advised public office holders to live above board and work for the benefit of the people. He stated that the inordinate quest for wealth and lack of discipline, among others, are responsible for the unbridled corruption in Nigeria's system.
Selfless service is crucial for addressing societal challenges and delivering value for citizens. This usually requires the leader to regularly engage with the citizens in decision makings, fostering transparency and accountability. This way, a government or leader can build trust and legitimacy.
Minister of Works Dave Umahi has assured Nigerians that the ongoing Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway project will proceed as planned, despite a pending court case challenging its implementation. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja, Umahi emphasized that the federal government is committed to seeing the project through and that all necessary legal and procedural requirements have been met. The Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, a 700-kilometer project, will run from Victoria Island, Lagos, to Calabar, Cross River State, passing through several states, including Ogun, Ondo, Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom. The project is expected to be a significant infrastructural development, improving connectivity and boosting economic activities along Nigeria's coastal region. Minister of Arts, Culture and Creative Economy, Hannatu Musawa, has disclosed plans to create $100 billion investment and 2 million jobs from the creative and cultural sector to revitalize the country's economy. The minister stated that the current administration is intentional about ensuring a large chunk of global market share of over $1 trillion comes into Nigeria's creative industry, in line with the renewed hope agenda of the current administration. Musawa also said this projection is feasible with opportunities in the creative and cultural economy value chain through policies enabling a business environment. The Nigerian Army says it has launched an investigation into the alleged killing of 3 persons and 100 cattle by troops during recent operation in Sabon Bering village, Igabi local government area of Kaduna State. The men in army uniform, suspected to be soldiers, allegedly killed 3 locals and over 100 cows in Sabon Bering Daji Cattle Market, Igabi local government area of Kaduna. Eyewitnesses had claimed the soldiers stormed the market, opening fire on the cattle, resulting in the death of at least 3 people as traders scrambled for safety. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has mourned former chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Justice Emmanuel Ayola, saying he left behind a name thoroughly bettered in honor and dignity. Ayola, one of the nation's eminent and most revered jurists, died at 90. Obasanjo, in a condolence letter to the head of Ayola's family by his special assistant on media, Kehinde Akinyemi, said the news of the death came to him in Congo-Brazzaville as a jarring shock. Similarly, President Bola Tinubu has
condemned the tragic circumstances leading to the death of Isa Bawa, the district head of Gatawa district in Sabon Birni local government area of Sokoto State. The monarch was abducted along Sokoto-Sabon Birni Road while returning from an event weeks ago. Tinubu, in a statement by Ajuri Ngelale, his special advisor on media and publicity, described the savage attack on the traditional ruler as deeply disturbing and a heinous act that will not go without a decisive response. The president therefore extended his condolences to the bereaved family, the Gobe Emirate, and government of Sokoto State. In the meantime, thousands of mourners have held a special funeral prayer for the mother district head of Gatawa in Sokoto State, Isa Muhammad Bawa, in absentia. The district head, who was kidnapped alongside his son while returning from Sokoto, the state capital, 26 days ago, was killed and buried by his abductors. One of the sons of the deceased, Anturakin Gobe, Sorajo Isa, said the prayer was held around 10 a.m. and was attended by the people of Sabon Birni and environs. President Bola Tinubu has approved the sum of 10 billion naira for the continuation of the digital switchover. The digital switchover that commenced under the administration of the immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari is the migration from the analog television broadcasting technology to digital systems. Addressing a press conference in Abuja, Director General of the National Broadcasting Commission, Charles Ebuebu, stated that the grant approved by the President is to build on what has already been achieved. The federal government has approved an upward review of the fees for the Nigerian passport effective September 1st, 2024. This was disclosed in a statement issued by the spokesperson for the Nigerian Immigration Service, Kenneth Udo. The increment aims to ensure the quality and integrity of the Nigerian standard passport, Udo said. As part of its effort to maintain the quality and integrity of the Nigerian standard passport, the federal government has approved an upward review of the fees for the passport effective from September 1st, 2024. Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State, has expressed concern over the recent invitation of the Nigerian Labour Congress President, Joe Ajaero, by the Nigerian Police Force. Obi emphasized the sensitivity of the situation given Ajaero's critical role as the leader of the nation's workforce. Obi also stated that the anxiety generated by Nigerian police invitation to the Labour leader for an interview should not be unexpected, given the critical position he holds as a leader of the nation's workforce. As part of continued commitment to drive economic growth towards a better life for families, the Renewed Hope Initiative Economic Empowerment Program has flagged off the recapitalization grant for 1,000 women petty traders in the nation's capital, Abuja. Wife of the president, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, while flagging off the program in Abuja, stated that over 1.8 billion naira would be disbursed to 37,000 women petty traders across the nation. She said the event would take place simultaneously across the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory. The Nigerian Bar Association (NBA) has called for the full implementation of the directive of President Bola Tinubu on the supply of crude to Dangote Refinery and modular refineries in the country. President of the association and a senior advocate of Nigeria, Yakubu Mikio, described the establishment of the refinery as both nationalistic and patriotic endeavor. The Umbrella Professional Association of Lawyers also urged the federal government and Nigerians to support the Dangote Petroleum Refinery to end the reign of fuel scarcity and perennial queues at filling stations in the country. Femi Gbajabiamila, Chief of Staff to the President, says the federal government is particular about diversifying the economy through massive investment in agriculture. Gbajabiamila said this during an interactive session with Colenius Adebayo, Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Agriculture and Land Development Agency. Chief of Staff to the President had visited the agency as part of tour of agencies under the supervision of the State House. Gbajabiamila hinted that President Bola Tinubu intends to inaugurate the National Council on Procurement, which is an establishment of the law. Meanwhile, Chief of Staff to the President, Femi Gbajabiamila, says the 2025 budget for State House agencies will be based on needs assessment. He said this to ensure that funding allocated to agencies is based on actual requirement. Gbajabiamila spoke to newsmen in Abuja following a one-day fact-finding tour of some government agencies under the supervision of the State House. The All Progressive Congress APC has inaugurated a caretaker committee led by Benjamin Omale to manage the party's affairs in Benue State, despite a court order prohibiting such action. The move follows ongoing internal conflict within the party's state chapter, which have resulted in factionalizing. The decision was made in defiance of a Benue State High Court order restraining the National Working Committee from removing Augustine Agada as the state chairman. The court order specifically instructed the National Working Committee, led by Abdullahi Ganduje, not to dismiss the Agada-led State Working Committee until the end of its 4-year tenure. The Federal Ministry of Education says the federal government is working to avert another strike by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Rising from its National Executive Council meeting held at the University of Ibadan, the union had given the federal government a 21-day ultimatum to meet its outstanding demands or lecturers would go on strike. Speaking at a press briefing at the Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike, Abia State, ASU President Professor Emmanuel Osedeke insisted that lecturers would be forced to embark on another strike, except the federal government meets their demands before the expiration of the 21-day ultimatum. Gunmen suspected to be bandits have reportedly killed 13 persons on their farms at the Ejuwa fringes of Alawa community of Shiroro local government area of Niger State. Chairman of the local government, Atiku Isiaku, who confirmed the killing in Mina, said the bandits shot 9 of the victims to death, while 4 others were killed at different locations that same day. A resident who spoke to newsmen claimed that the bandit targeted the community over allegations that members supplied intelligence to security agencies on bandits' movements. You're watching Global AM News coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, PSG coach Luis Enrique plays down prospects of more new signings. Details of these and more after this break. Please stay with us. This is Global Television bringing you live broadcasts of Global AM News. Thank you for staying with us. In business, the federal government says that investors seeking to invest in its latest financial instrument must disclose specific identification requirements to participate in the exercise. It further stated that all Nigerian citizens, including those residing abroad, must possess a bank verification number and a national identification number to subscribe to domestic dollar bond. The federal government has launched the National Single Window Project to boost Nigeria's trade and economic growth.
The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, kicked off the launch of the transformative initiative, which aims to streamline trade processes, reduce bottlenecks, and increase transparency, positioning Nigeria for economic growth. A statement from the Ministry of Finance, signed by Mohammed Manga, Director of Information and Public Relations, says the project is spearheaded by the Federal Inland Revenue Service and the Nigerian Sovereign Investment Authority. That seeks to create a centralized platform where traders can submit and receive information related to import and export procedures. The price of liquefied petroleum gas or cooking gas has risen to 1,300 naira per kilogram this month, representing 8.3% month-on-month from 1,200 naira in July. Similarly, the price of 5 kg cooking gas has risen by 8.3% to 6,500 naira from 6,000 naira it was sold in July 2024. National President of the Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers, Olutumbosun Oladakpo, said the association is aware of the recent increase as gas price is influenced by exchange, expressing hope that the price should drop by the end of the month. On the foreign scene, crucial supply chains are under threat across North America after a rail labor dispute in Canada led to a shutdown of freight traffic on the country's two largest railways. Canadian National Railway, CN, and Canadian Pacific Kansas City, CPKC, locked out nearly 9,300 workers after failing to clinch a late deal with the Team Masters Union. Canada sends around 75% of all the goods it exports to the U.S., mostly over rail. A prolonged dispute could disrupt shipment of a wide range of goods, from grains to beans to potash, coal and timber. Officials say a judge has extended the custody of a Pakistani man accused of spreading disinformation on his clickbait website, thought to have fueled anti-immigration riots in Britain. Farhan Asif appeared in court for the second day in a row in the city of Lahore over allegations he published an article falsely claiming that a Muslim asylum seeker was behind a deadly knife attack on children in the United Kingdom. He was remanded for a further 4 days and charged with cyber terrorism over the post on his Channel 3 Now website. UK authorities have blamed online misinformation for sparking days of riots that targeted mosques and hotels using housing asylum seekers as well as police officers and other properties. And sliding into the world of sports, Boniface has been suspended for anti-sporting conduct after Saturday's game against Stuttgart, when the German champions won on penalties to win the German Super Cup. The striker also pointed his middle finger to Stuttgart players after the match. Alongside the suspension, the 23-year-old will also pay a fine of 23,000 euros for the misconduct. Boniface will be back for Bayern Leverkusen's first game against Borussia Mönchengladbach today, but will not feature in the next German Cup match that the club will be playing next week. Paris Saint-Germain coach Luis Enrique insisted that he is delighted with the current squad as he played down the possibility of more new signings arriving before the transfer window closes next week. PSG have already invested a reported 175 million euros, not including bonuses, on 4 players this summer, but have not recruited a new striker to fill the gap left by Kylian Mbappe. Mbappe, the club's all-time top scorer, departed for Real Madrid when his contract expired, and the French champions were dealt a further blow when Portugal's attacker
Conglao Ramos came off hurt early in last week's 4-1 win at La Ville in the Ligue 1. Nigeria's under-20 women's team, the Falconets, have fully recovered from their long journey to Colombia and are now gearing up to face Australia in the first of the 2 friendly matches arranged by the Nigerian Football Federation to prepare the team for the upcoming FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup, set to take place in Colombia from August 31st to September 22nd. Coach Chris Danjuma, along with his team, which now includes a fitness trainer, Chima Michael, has been putting the Falconets through intensive drills since Monday. These preparations are focused on their clash with the Australian team on Friday, as well as their overall readiness for the World Cup. And that's how we call it a wrap on the Global AM News. I am Anthony Momodu. Good morning.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria, come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely.
Can we not say that
because that this country gets it right?
Who are these bandits? It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your limit.
Get a shot in.
Squares it into the back. It's time for sports' biggest moments on global television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Beautiful work from the wingers. With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
I want to go further to congratulate you on being on DSTV 365. Yeah, channel 365 is an awesome thing. Congratulations, and I will enjoy each and every one to keep on watching Global TV.
This is Global TV. For your current affairs, for your current information, ideas, education, entertainment news at the best. Channel 365 on DSTV. You have just come alive into a new phenomenon in the media industry. Keep watching. Stay tuned.
Keep watching Global Television on DSTV channel 365 for your news and all national issues and international breaking news. Watch Global TV.
Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumain Manson on Global Television Monday, Thursday, and a repeat every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out.
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on Entertainment Circle on Global Television. From the hottest red carpet events to exclusive interviews with your favorite stars, we've got you covered. Stay up to date with the latest trends and news from the entertainment world, all in one place. Tune in every Saturday by 1 p.m. with Chung Annabelle Joseph on Global Television.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits? It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
Welcome back from the Global AM News. It's now time for us to look at some other very interesting talking points. We will be joined by the former Director of News of the Voice of Nigeria in the person of Ahazia Suleiman, who is joining us via Zoom to help us look at some interesting talking points. So far, we know that Nigerian pensioners and those who have retired after serving the country for decades meritoriously always face one form of challenge or the other. And so we've decided, okay, as an inspiration, let's look at some of the challenges they face and probably what the solutions could be so that we could help those who have served Nigeria with all their heart and might, like the national anthem before it got changed did say. Then we'll also be looking at the state of insecurity in the country, especially at the sub-national level, not just at the federal level, but the sub-national level, talking about the states, the local governments, and the villages where, as of last week now, we've had some very disturbing reports of killings of emirs and district heads. So that has inspired that talking point. So we'll be looking at that too, and other issues surrounding Nigeria. Let's join Ahazia Suleiman. Good morning, Ahazia Suleiman. Thank you for joining us on Global Morning.
Thank you, Tony, for having me once again after a very long time. You know, I've been away from Abuja, moving up and down, trying to see what I can keep body and soul together, going to the farm, and many other things that I've been engaging myself in my home state in Gombe.
All right, glad to know you are at the Jewel State, talking about Gombe. And I've got Queen Agaba, my co-anchor here. Good morning. She's excited to have you join us.
Good morning, Mr.
Queen, my pleasure having you and being with you once again after a very long time. And I hope you're doing well in Abuja today.
Thank you. Very well, thank you. It's a pleasure having you.
My pleasure, too.
All right, let's begin our discourse. Now we know you're on the other side of the divide. You're now retired. And you've got a lot of stories to tell us. Having been the director of news of Voice of Nigeria, it means you're well equipped to give us a very, should we say, very decent report as regards how the other side feels like. And first of all, the headline, what your caption would be. As the director of news, let's assume you were supposed to make that report now. What would be the caption before you take us through what it feels like being retired in Nigeria and the challenges faced before we go to the solutions?
If I am to cast a headline on this issue of retirees in Nigeria, I will tell you that the new pension scheme is a death warrant leading senior citizens to their early graves. Honestly speaking, this new system is not favorable to civil servants at all. Look, let me put myself, use myself as a very good example. I retired on October 9, 2023. As I speak with you now, no dime, even my organization, the Voice of Nigeria, where I had outstanding claims, some money that are supposed statutorily due to me, I have not been paid. And for the last 10 months or thereabout, I have not received a dime, and I am over 60 now, and I need to take care of medication. I need to feed my family. I have children still in school. So that's somebody like me. And not to talk of people that didn't reach my own level. I have seen people die without collecting their own pension or gratuity. In the States, it's better. Honestly speaking, I have a friend, an age mate, a very close friend of mine in Gombe. He left service February 2023. That February, he was paid his pension. He's waiting only for the gratuity. At least what comes in for him, he is managing his life with it, feeding his family with it, and taking care of his medication from it. But the federal service, they will keep you waiting up until after more than a year. What will you do? You know, we are trying to fight corruption in this country. Now, if I knew that it was going to happen to me like this, and I had the position of stealing government money to keep myself while waiting for that money, the lump sum or the pension to start running, I would have done it. But you see, you say you are fighting corruption, yet you are encouraging corruption, because anybody that is in charge of finance and he knows I'm going to retire next year, he will do everything possible to siphon money that he will keep running his family with until the time they start paying such monies. I've seen people suffer. You see, people go to their early graves because they are not paid their money. I know there is a new DG in PENCOM. Something has to be done. This has to be brought to her notice or his notice, so that senior citizens should not suffer. After serving, I served 35 years meritoriously, and I never had a query in my service. I worked as a newsman, rose from the ranks of a reporter to become the executive director, not just a director, the executive director of News in Voice of Nigeria. And not only that, I acted as the DG of Voice of Nigeria for 3 months, 10 days before a substantive DG was appointed. And I'm leaving the service. You are not giving me a dime, even my own outstanding statutory money, even the monies I use in working for government. You are not paying me, and you want me to keep quiet. And what do? We've been appealing, we've been talking to ourselves in the media to help our media colleagues to help us bring this to the notice of the government. The president may not know, the DG PENCOM might not know, but some people are sitting on all these things in their offices and treating senior citizens in this. In other climes, it is not like that, and it shouldn't be like that in our own dear country. Honestly speaking, the plight of federal civil servants, not the state. The states are complaining of gratuity, but federal civil servants, you have to wait for more than a year. As I speak with you now, those who retired in January 2023 are the only ones that have been paid. From March 2023 till date, nobody has received a dime. And how do they want us to feed? Next month, in 2 weeks' time, students will be resuming school. How do I pay my children's school fees? How do I feed my family in these hard and difficult times in our country today? I used to buy beans, 40,000, 35,000 naira a bag in my own community. Today, that bag of beans is over 100,000, and I don't have any way of income. So how do I feed my family? How even the corn, the maize, that now new one has started coming out, it has dropped from 100,000 to 70, 75,000. As I speak with you this morning, how do I get 70,000 to go and buy a bag of maize that I would use to feed my family? Not to talk of rice, the staple food in this country, and not to talk of vegetables. During the last Salah, a small basket of tomato was going for 10,000 naira. I shook my head and I said, where are we going to in this country? So they want anybody that retired from federal service to go to his grave earlier than God had planned. And God forbid that we will survive it. And we are praying that you, Tony and Queen in the media, help push our case to the federal government so that they will know that we are really in trouble and we are suffering. For 1 year, my colleague who retired from the News Agency of Nigeria, he is in Damaturu, and each time he sees anything concerning pension, he will call me. Is there any news, any development? I will say, Abdullahi, there is nothing like that. Well, let us just keep our fingers crossed and keep praying and hoping that President Tinubu will hear, one day will hear about our plight. Is it a crime to serve this country? In fact, I'm telling you, Tony, this morning, it is painful that if I had known, I would have left government service much younger when I was in my maybe 40s and 50s and joined maybe private practice or started a business that will have sustained me beyond now. But you serve 30 years, 35 years, and 60 years of age, and you have left government, and nobody wants to hear you, nobody wants to pick your call, nobody wants to, once you call, they will think that you are asking for money. That's why I had to run away from Abuja. I have a house in Abuja. God blessed me with that. And I'm in my village now farming so that even if the money doesn't come, if I harvest, maybe I'll have something that will sustain my family. And that is why I'm here in Gombe. It's a serious problem that pensioners are passing through. You see them, one element or the other is coming up. Now you don't have a steady job where you would go in and exercising yourself. And so all those underlying sicknesses will all come up, and you will need money to buy drugs. The money is not there for you. The government is not there for you. The NIHS has stopped funding your own health system. And so where do you go? Honestly speaking, it is a pathetic situation for us pensioners in this country.
All right. My question to you is, before retirement, we know that government agencies, parastatals, usually would hold seminars, conferences to intimate would-be retirees what to expect and the challenges that would befall them. Did you go through this process?
We went all through all these trainings and everything. Tony, sincerely speaking, how much is the salary? How much is your take-home pay? You are buying food. If somebody like me that I'm lucky, I have my own house. You have to pay rent. You have to buy food. You have to pay children's school fees. You have to take care of your medication. And we went through all this. They say, say for the rainy, they say the salary in its own, on its own is not even enough for you to take care of your own family, not to talk of saving. And so, therefore, we went all through laudable projects and trainings, and I'm supposed to be paid for some of these trainings. I was in the olden days, during Obasanjo and maybe part of Yar'Adua and Jonathan Goodluck's era, those trainings were done abroad. You go outside this country so that you have some extra code that will come and keep you, but now it is domesticated. You do it and you're supposed to be paid for those trainings. That has not been done to us. You're supposed to be given repatriation money as you are living, so that you pack your family. They assume, for me that worked in Lagos for 16 years, they assume I'm coming back to Gombe and they will pay me my repatriation money from Lagos to Gombe to carry my family and come back to Gombe. That has not been paid to me. That is supposed to be given to me by my office. Then the PENCOM people are supposed to start, if they are not going to pay the lump sum money, let them start paying the pension to help to augment whatever source of livelihood. I depend on my friends, and I'm ashamed to be going cap in hand, begging them for money to buy fuel. I have to park one of my cars, my wife's car. We are using just one jalopy car that when we get small money we put in to go to church and attend some other engagements that are absolutely necessary. Otherwise, we have to join the bandwagon of joining people on the road to join along or enter public transport to go to wherever we want to go. It is not, it is a very sorry state. You see the cost of fuel where I am in Gombe. We buy fuel at the cost of 950 naira per liter. How many liters will I buy? To even go to the farm, I have to augment by joining public transport where I will have to pay, go come. And you want to carry people that will work for you in the farm, it amounts to a lot of money again. So the situation honestly is not palatable. With this kind of crisis, the hunger in the land, and people are allowed to suffer like that. So God forbid, we will not go to our early graves. We will live to see our grandchildren, and whatever the government is, whoever is in charge are trying to manipulate. People are eating fat. They are using the pension money in trillions to invest and to borrow and to do their own businesses, whereas those who contributed that money are being left to die in hunger. It is a pity. I underwent all the trainings by the PENCOM, and by the what do they call them now? Those pension administrators, and even the office and the federal government. All those trainings we underwent. We were supposed to be paid allowances for doing all those things. Yet, as I speak with you now, Tony, nothing has been paid to me. This is 10 months going to the 11th month by next month, September, without any dime coming to my account from my office. So if I was not having good friends who once in a while that they knew I don't have any pay, when they will call me, Ahazia, what are you doing? I want you to go and do this and this for us somewhere, somehow. They will give me transport money, give me some allowances. And that is what I live on as I speak with you right now.
Mr. Ahazia, this is quite worrisome and disturbing. But I want to believe that this message, we're here for you as well, as we're also in the media. It's sad to know that someone who has, attained the ranks that you have would have to go through all of this, after retirement, when you are supposed to be well consolidated and compensated. We're deeply sorry about that. But we hope that the federal government will get this message and do the needful. But is there a way to better prepare for retirement, say, in terms of finance, financially prepare? What would you advise for those that are near retirement to do as they are that retirement?
Yes, after 3 months of retirement, I went to Radio Nigeria. I saw my colleagues. I went to my newsroom where I left, and I started telling them, prepare for the rainy day. You are just starting. Some of you are just starting. Maybe you go and open an account, a savings account that you will never touch. Begin to prepare. If you don't have
all right, I think we're having some little technical glitch there. We hope Ahazia will be able to reconnect back with us so that we can explore more of the challenges faced by retirees in the country and the way they can be helped, especially with the PENCOM companies across border and also the federal government, while monies are... All right, Ahazia, thank you for rejoining us on Global Morning.
Thank you very much, Tony.
All right, so Queen did ask a question as regards if there are better ways to prepare.
Yeah, hello. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead,
Tony.
We can hear you.
Yeah. The other thing is what I was saying, we have to encourage the younger ones that are just coming, not the ones that have 1 or 2 years to go. That one is too late for them. But for those who are just joining service or who have up to 10 years, they should devise a means of putting their hands in 1 or 2 other things.
All right. Again, I think the connectivity is giving us some bit of challenge this morning, but
he did raise very salient points.
All right. Well, very disturbing. Quite all right. But let's just quickly go for a very quick break. When we return from the break, the discussion on saving retirees, the challenges faced and solutions would continue after this break. Stay with us.
Many thanks for staying with us. I believe we're now connected to Mr. Ahazia Suleiman now. Mr. Ahazia,
Yes, Queen, I'm here. Very well. Sorry,
I was just
coming
saying
in.
that it's quite appalling that after 35 years of meritorious service, to the nation, that you're still owed what is due to you. And we can only hope that this message will get to the federal government and relevant authorities to do the needful. But from your experience and as a form of advice to those who are near retirement or who are just getting started, what would you advise them? How best would you advise them to better prepare for, retirement?
What will I say now? Because the money is not even enough for them. What I just said, sometimes we have to engage ourselves into agriculture and do some other small side businesses, which the civil service rule does not even approve of it. When you are caught doing that, you are punished for doing certain things. But certainly the way we are in this country right now, Queen, we must have to spread our hands to do one or two things, get into cooperative societies where you'll be contributing this small savings, take loans from there and invest into one or two other things. That is the best thing any civil servant can do right now. Go into cooperative societies, get your cooperative registered and get some small loans to do side businesses that would assist you augment whatever you are drawing from the government. Otherwise, what we used to do in those days to augment and to pay our rent was to join ourselves. Like for instance, for the past 2 years, before I left service, we were contributing 100,000, 10 of us. So by the end of the day, when it is your own turn to take the 100,000 contribution, you get 900,000, and it helps in either paying your rent, paying your school fees, or doing so many other things that we were engaged in doing. So I will encourage civil servants who are nearing retirement to go into such things, join the cooperatives, sacrifice. You have to sacrifice for tomorrow. Otherwise, you will find yourself in a situation where you cannot be able to buy even ordinary drugs that you keep your body healthy, because the National Housing and Health Insurance Scheme will not be there for you.
All right. Okay. Ahazi, are you still there? Okay.
And we may have challenges.
Okay. We can hear you.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You have to prepare for tomorrow by saving little. The only way you can save where you cannot touch. Just Tony, I'm hearing.
Let's look at other issues you did raise. The fact that some of the conferences and monies, allowances that you were supposed to be paid after leaving Lagos after 16 years serving there, repatriation money, you called it. Have you written to the establishment to inform them that you're yet to be paid? And for the pension companies, have you also written, or has the body of Association of Retirees written to alert the government and the relevant agencies that the monies that are supposed to be paid or due you members have not been paid, so that we can see how we can tackle the issue of corruption, the necessary in the payment?
Honestly speaking, I can give you more than 100 names of retirees that are complaining, have the same complaints. What I'm telling you right now. For me, for instance, when I was living, I had an official car which I've used for 8 years, and I wrote to the office, pay me my outstanding claims, pay me my repatriation money, pay me my training money, and auction this vehicle to me so that I can have a means of movement or mobility around town. They have not even replied the letter as I speak with you right now. And so what will I expect if the letter that I wrote formally has not been replied to me? Not to talk of, I've spoken directly to the Director of Finance, who has 2 years to go, and he's saying there's no money. When we have money, we'll look at it. I mean, is that the kind of attitude a fellow director that you have worked with, and he's treating you like that? I'm not the only one. Those who left even 3-4 years before me have not been paid. Some of those outstanding claims, repatriation and training money and other things. So not to talk of me, I'm complaining about that. I'm lying down low because my senior colleagues who retired before me have not been paid all those claims and allowances. And so I don't know what they will do. Not to talk of the PENCOM. PENCOM have been following up. We are yet to join the Association of Pensioners because until they start paying us, where we will also contribute our token to the association, we have not yet joined, but we are pushing, using those of us who retired from the media, using our colleagues in the media like Tony and Quinn to draw home the complaints of our retired colleagues in the Federal Civil Service of the Federation. I have a friend who retired from the DSS. The day he was leaving, his check was given, and he started drawing his own salary. Another cousin of mine who retired from NNPC, the day, in fact, he left service in August, on August 20-something, the end of that August, his pension started running. His salary stopped, his pension started running. And so why are we treated differently from other services? That's why you can see the military withdrew because they saw what was in it, the danger that was in that PENCOM administration. They refused to join. The DSS refused to join. And those who are fighting to leave is the police. They are still part of us, and we're suffering together with them, with the core civil servants in the federal service. So it is a sad situation that government needs to look at it. You don't have to treat this. In fact, it is a contributed money. They forced us to contribute, and we contributed. Now our own money, they cannot give it to us. And when they come to give you, they say they'll give you only 25% of the lump sum money that you've contributed and kept. And they will spread the other one for you. They expect you to die after 15 years of retirement because they will spread it over 15 years. After that, nothing comes to you again. So they expect that when you retire at the age of 60, you die at 75. You don't exceed that 75. That is how the program, how deadly, how satanic that program is. Honestly, I'm sorry using these words on air, but honestly speaking, that is how the program is. Ask them, call PENCOM people to come and talk to you in the studio and let them explain why is it that. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. But moving forward now,
yes, ma'am.
What policies would you advise, government policies to ensure, better financial securities for retirees?
Well, for retirees, since they are forcing civil servants to contribute money, and they know, like for me, I'm using myself as an example. By the end of October 2023, I finished all the necessary documentation. I've gone to PENCOM, I've gone to my PFA, I've gone to the office, they've given all the necessary lists. By the time I was exiting, they gave me a letter of retirement.
All right,
and they documented it. What stopped my cousin in, just as they did to others in the security forces and NNPC, CBN, as you are leaving, your check should be given to you. So the PENCOM administrators, honestly speaking, are not helping matters. They are feeding fat on people's money, blood money, I call it, because people that contributed their own money and they are feeding fat on, because it was imposed on civil servants, the kind of this current pension administration. It is not favorable to civil servants, and because you cannot even increase their money. I have seen my senior directors who retired from service as executive directors collecting 80,000, 90,000 as their pension, because what they contributed that has been spread over 15 years. And so they calculate and give you whatever is due to you. At the end of 15 years, you are gone. If you don't die, then you are on your own. And so if they give me my lump sum money, they give any retiree his lump sum money, I will know what to invest in. I am a farmer, not only being farmer, I'm into animal husbandry. My dad used animal husbandry to train all of us, and I know how to do that business. If you give me my lump sum, what I contributed, I can tell you free of charge, is 33 million. If you give me that 33 million, thank God I have a house. I can invest it and it will yield for me much money, because is there in the PENCOM, they cannot add 1 kobo to that 33 million that I have contributed to the program. So if they give me that lump sum money, I know what, if I use it in 1 year and I squander the money, it's on my own. Why should they keep that money for me, from me? Give it to me. I know I can invest in so many things that will fetch me more money than what the value chain in agriculture is so much that even if it is 10 million that you give me, I know I will generate, by the end of the year, I will generate more than 10 million again on top of that 10 million. So there are businesses that one can do, but you are limited because what they will give you will not amount to anybody. Somebody will just get 1.2 million, somebody will get just 3 million. What will that do to you? And you expect a civil servant that served for 35 years that didn't have his or her own house, and you expect you give him 3 million, 4 million. In today's day where cement is selling for 8,000 per bag, when I built my house, it wasn't like that. I bought cement for 1,500 naira, and now today it's 8,000. So you cannot consider building a house with that. So the lump sum money, my recommendation will be, the lump sum money should be given to us, even if it is splitting into two. It will be better than the way they keep it for us, and they expect us to die after 15 years. God forbid, they will die and leave all those pensioners that they're expecting to die.
God forbid that you die, at that age. But let's talk about healthcare, most importantly for retirees. Do you have schemes, plans, that includes the welfare and healthcare for retirees or their families?
I thank God for myself because my wife is still in service. She has 2 years to go, and she's also under the health insurance scheme, and so that takes care of herself and the children. And for me, I'm out of it. I'm retired. I'm a retiree. I'm on my own, and because I am diabetic, what I do every month, I spend not less than 10,000 naira. Not less than 10,000 naira on my medication. So if I don't have the means of getting that 10,000 naira, what will happen? Me to die? And from diabetes, it led to, I was only diabetic, now I am controlling high blood pressure. So there is no scheme for these retirees where they will access health at a minimized or a very low cost. So I can tell you free of charge, I'm saying I spend on my medication alone for diabetes and high blood pressure, I spend not less than 10,000 each month. And so where do I get that 10,000 naira every month to take care of my health? So other things that the health insurance should be extended.
I said let's end this conversation after this question, because we still have two other issues to look at. As we'll also be looking at, we're still on the state of the nation. We're going to be looking at insecurity at the sub-national levels as regards the killings, weakness, recent. As we wrap up, my question to you is there any way a legal action can be taken to force the government, the PENCOM offices, and the Voice of Nigeria to make those payments that was due to you and other persons who have retired, in terms of the repatriation monies and the monies that were supposed to be paid for those training allowances? Do you think taking legal actions could help this fight?
No, we keep appealing. Like the DJ in Voice of Nigeria is new in the system. By now, I guess he must have understudied the books and known how it is done. But you know what? My colleagues who are in the service, who are there, are the ones causing they are the ones confusing the CEOs. And you cannot take PENCOM to court because it's a legal entity and they work by the laws that they've already established for themselves, unless reforms are done. So the best way to change all these things is to go to the National Assembly and effect change of the laws that governs the PENCOM administration. Otherwise, it will remain like that, and people will just be dying or not having their monies, as it were. So the only thing is for this association of pensioners to assist those who will join by going to the National Assembly and effecting the laws that affect pensioners, so those who are retiring. Otherwise, this thing will continue like that. And that is why you see many organizations are threatening to quit. They are proposing that they should be removed out of this new pension administration. It is evil, it is deadly, and it is not suitable for our own situation in this country. So the only way, you can't go to court, The only way is to go to the National Assembly, amend the laws, so that, because if you go to court, it's amount to nothing, because the laws have set it clearly how they are going to administer. These are selfish people who promulgated those laws and put it so that they will make it fat. People that are retiring from the PENCOM office, go and check their houses, their mansions, their estates that they build using people's money to do all those things. So it is unfortunate that this country is being run the way it is, and it is not the fault of the present administration. Neither is it the one. Obasanjo did this to us in this country, and it is unfortunate.
All right, let's move on to the next talking point before we let you go. Let's look at insecurity at the subnational level, where recently a district head was kidnapped on his return with his family, and ransom paid, collected, and still he was killed and buried. And we've seen killings across board in different states, especially the northern region. Gombe happens to be in the northern part of the country. Can you tell us the feelings of the people as regards this recent spate of killings that is ongoing, and do you think the service chiefs are still being held responsible or being pushed on to do the needful to safeguard the lives of Nigerians?
Well, it's so sad that in Sokoto, where a district head was kidnapped and killed, the youth came out protesting. The same thing in Gobir, where a first-class emir was also kidnapped and killed. I listened to the son of that emir, and it's so painful that he was called. He lives in Lagos. He was to come to Lagos, to the village where they were demanding for money. Somebody now called him and asked him and told him, have you people paid the ransom? He said, there's problem. Oh. He said, what is the problem? The man didn't tell him, I will call you later. When he called again, he now asked whether they have paid the ransom. The man said no, he's rushing back home so that they put whatever they have together to go and pay so that the emir will be rescued. And the man said, don't bother paying them if they ask, because they asked for 6 motorcycles and 60 million naira for the emir to be released, whereas they have already killed him, and they wanted the family again to pay the ransom and give them 6 motorcycles that they use in their banditry. So the man, when he spoke, tears rolled my eyes. How can you, a son of the emir who was coming from Lagos, to go and see whether he will, his dad will be rescued? And youths in the city of Gobir and Sokoto, the district head of Sokoto, where the district head was killed, they are protesting. In Sokoto today, they have declared a curfew in that area so that the youth will not get out of hand, things will not get out of control for the protesting youth. It is unfortunate. Coming to the issue of whether the security they are working, these people live amongst us, and it is best that we, the citizenry, wherever we are, when we see signs of this thing, we report it immediately. But what baffles me and surprises me, that these people will make a call using a telephone number where you can track and know where they are. Even when they are moving, you could know exactly within the vicinity where they are, even if you don't get the spot correctly. This is not it's not rocket science. It's simple technology that we could use to track and arrest. Once you have established a communication with them, you are supposed to know, and that is where I would recommend and suggest that there should be inter-service collaboration between all the security forces, be it civil defense, police, DSS, army, Air Force, Navy, wherever, even the local vigilantes, who are more effective, as far as I'm concerned, in gathering information and detecting where these criminals' hideouts are. There should be a collaboration between all of them to be able to nip this thing in the bud. Otherwise, it is not only Sokoto and Gobir. Even in Kaduna State, you had the protest where some people are threatening, and so many other things are happening. The insecurity, the more we are fighting, the more people are coming. And why is it so? Because of the hunger in the land. Some of those criminals have been there and they're capitalizing. See, here in the northeast, I'm telling you before, man, and God, some parts God is wonderful. There are floods. Other parts, we've been crying and praying, holding joint prayers between Muslims and Christians for rains to come, because the crops dried up. We had to plant 3 different times, and we're praying that the rain is sustained beyond October so that we will have harvest. Otherwise, 2025 will be a year where there will be hunger in the country, and food security will be a serious challenge in this country. These bandits, sometimes they will go and stop you from farming. We thank God for where I am from. We've not had that challenge, and the rains have started coming, and we're enjoying, we are seeing crops being revived by security. I think security men are overwhelmed.
Well, Mr. Hazia, let's look at
yes,
how effective, states and local governments have been in addressing insecurity in their jurisdiction so far. We see a lot of meetings, particularly with northern leaders, having, strategic meetings that combat security in the north. But how effective have they been so far in addressing the root causes?
My sister Queen, honestly speaking, I see them as paying just lip service. Sometimes, I have a lot of friends in the security forces. Some aspect of the security, that was why when I said we need collaborative effort, understanding between all the security agencies. Some, their information is to, their role is to give information where, but the reacting period is always very slow. Before the security men will mobilize to come to where that thing is happening, it is too late, very, very late in the day. And so therefore, there has to be that collaborative effort. The local governments is now that they've got their own autonomy, and because they are just getting the autonomy, they are yet to start receiving funds where they could form their own security, local security, where it will assist maybe combating the security. Yes, they should be the best people right at the local level to combat security by identifying, engaging vigilantes, engaging some youth maybe to form vanguard. Where I am in Gombe right now, we had a meeting and we said we must register our youth to form vigilante groups, knowing each and every one of them, and they will run shift so that they will maintain peace. Small stealing and small banditry, people who are coming to inform others, to give information, they will be able to detect them. Without those people within you identifying those who are giving information, because they are the most dangerous set of people who give information. You pass, Tony and Queen now pass in a SUV car, they will say, a very expensive one. They will alert people somewhere. So you need to get people who are giving those information. That is how you can nip it in the bud and address all this insecurity. But again, there must be the political will from government. I grew up in Maiduguri, and I know how this how the Boko Haram issue was handled. Some soldiers will tell you they will be seeing the insurgents in front of them. Instead of them opening fire, they will be told from above, freeze and withdraw. Where they would have cleared and killed everybody, they will ask them to withdraw. So where are those instructions coming from? General Christopher Musa has been trying his best. He was held when he was in Maiduguri. I saw where his soldiers lifted him high because of the effort that he made in combating those terrorists in that region. But going beyond that, he is in charge right now. So he should bring down those policies down to the grassroots and engage some community leaders. And you know what happened in Gobira and Sokoto is because the leaders, the traditional leaders there, were threatening the bandits. And so they say, oh, you are threatening us. And that is why they went for them. So you can see they are now, everybody is now afraid to even open up and say something. So you must give them that confidence that whatever they do, whatever anybody, you will give them that confidential coverage so that they will be able to come out and tell the world exactly what is happening and tell the security men, inform them, give them information where and how these people are going to operate. Without giving them that cover, it will be difficult. You may see, I've seen a village where we normally pass. I was told that these bandits will come, occupy Meshai, take their own share, eat bread, ask them to do indomie and fry egg for them. By the time they are there, you don't answer call, you don't stand up, you don't leave that place until they finish what they are doing and they leave before you can move. And so if such people are seen within that vicinity, what stops the community? And they will warn you, if you dare report us to the security agencies, we will come and wipe this community off. So you can see these are the kind of challenges that we face generally in the north, and it's affecting the entire country. Something urgent and serious needs to be done.
Okay, Mr. Haziya, let's look at other states, for example. Most of the insurgents happen to be in the north. Are there other states in Nigeria where we've seen measures that have been implemented that we think we can replicate in our northern states to help us curb, or do we, go about interstate collaboration? So what do you think about it, interstate collaboration or measures you think that we've seen work in some states that can work in northern regions?
Yes, in the southwest, the Omotekun kind of security group, we've seen them. Each time there is an attempt to do something, they'll come in handy and address that kind of thing. Again, what is the suggestion you are saying, interstate collaboration, it is the best way. In the state, you move from one state to the other. If there are checks and loaders of each. There was a time when Okada was banned in Lagos, and these guys from Adamawa who were doing Okada business in Lagos carried their motorcycles in trucks to Jos, and they rode on them. Over 100 of them gathered together, they were moving, and there was nothing done to check them whether some of them were bandits or what. They came, and when we saw them in Gombe, alarm was raised. But before you could tell people that, see what the kind of movement, they had already gone out of the state and entered their own home state. So these are the kind of things. If there are at the border points, let there be checks and balances. Let there be checks at the border points, and there should be collaboration, even if they run across to other states, because some policemen from police commissioners will tell you it is not their own territory, it's not out of their own jurisdiction, so they cannot cross over to do. So if there is this understanding among the security forces, a brigade commander in Gombe, for instance, liaison with the one in Adamawa, or police commissioner in Bauchi liaison with the one in Gombe, or the one in Borno, or the one in Kogi liaison with Ekiti, and either Edo. So if they do that collaborative effort, they make those collaborative effort, I think it will help. But most importantly, I keep repeating this thing, the people have to give the security agencies information and give them confidentially. The security men should not expose these people, because once you are exposed, you become a victim. A senior of mine in secondary school who retired from
Okay, I want to believe that we will get reconnected with
DSS
Mr.
was killed like
Suleiman.
that. Maybe.
Are you there?
Yeah. So they. Okay. Yes, I'm here. I'm very well here. So I was giving an example of.
We'll be wrapping up now. Please go ahead.
I'm giving an example of collaborative effort, and yes. No, the state needs to collaborate, the security agencies need to collaborate, and individuals need to give the security agencies relevant information that they will use in combating these crimes.
Many thanks, Mr. Haziya Suleiman, for your contributions. That was Mr. Haziya Suleiman, former director, News, Voice of Nigeria. Thank you, taking us through life after retirement and the state of the nation. Thank you very much for your time with us. We deeply appreciate.
Thank you for having me, Queen and Anthony. Thank you, Global TV. Please, I will be coming to Abuja next week. Maybe I will come to the studio live. Thank you so very much.
All right, we look forward to having you. Have a pleasant day ahead. Well, now we'll take a quick break. We'll take a quick break now, and when we return, we'll delve into other topical issues of national interest for discussion. Please stay with us.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your limit.
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team. Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumain Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and it repeats every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out. Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here. In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch.
Many thanks for staying with us. It's time for us to delve into other topical issues of national discourse. Will stem from our national dailies. We'll look at the front pages of some of the papers that we have and, the topical issues. Anthony, we had just gone through the Vanguard when, we talked about the issue of ASU and NASU and their regular strike, and now we have the Daily Times, and on the front page, big story there says that FG won't tolerate subversion of democratic government, according to the AGF, and says laws of the land have made copious provisions on how to deal with treasonable acts. We also have above the nameplate, while fear cues persists, Pengensan president. And then also ICPC warns against undermining Supreme Court's judgment on local autonomy. Angry Chinese investor seizes another jet from Nigeria in Canada. Federal government to prosecute foreigners funding banditry for economic sabotage. Lastly, underneath the Daily Times, Tinubu congratulates Justice Ariwola on successful public service career. To swear in Justice Ariwola's successor today, approves 10 billion naira grant for DSO. Lastly, COS, that's Chief of Army Staff, orders investigation into alleged killing of 3 locals and cattle in Kaduna. Of course, the people of Kaduna, some of the locals of that, community have accused the Nigerian army of killing 3 persons and, of course, 100 cattle, as reported by some dailies. And now the Nigerian army is saying that they're looking to investigate, the killings as, told by the communities. From the papers, from the Daily Time, what struck out for you?
This takes us back to what played out in Delta State, the Okwama community where but in that situation it was different. The army came out with the position that they went for peacekeeping. But at least in this particular event, there was no need for peacekeeping. So the question is, why did the army or the soldiers decide to shoot at the cows, kill the cows, and kill 3 persons? If the cows were not killed, probably we say it was a cattle rustling they were doing. But this time, it was obvious they knew what they were doing or what they were aiming at. So let's see if the army would come out with a clear report as regards what really played out, if they also will be honest and not being economical with the truth. Because there are several times when the army and the Nigerian community seem to always have issues, but the army always, because they are the army, they always take a position that the government backs, and the citizens and the civilians would not have so much to stand for them. But this is really disturbing. It means the army is overreaching its bounds, and that's the most times people say they should remain in the barracks and they should only be called upon when there's truly an external threat, when Nigeria is at war with any nation, and not just when it has to do with issues with civilians. The Nigerian police force should be the right security agency to tackle such events. But truly very disturbing, the fact that the Nigerian army is always accused of carrying out these extrajudicial killings.
Yeah, but while we can't say that some of these killings are extrajudicial, but investigations are still made. So let's not just say that it's obvious that the Nigerian army.
When it comes to investigation, there seems not to be a fair deal, because on the part of the people, who's going to speak on their behalf? Do we have an independent body also carrying out the investigation? Do we have civil society organizations as part of those that are going to join the army if the investigation goes on? Because as long as it's just the army doing the investigation, definitely there's no guarantee that they're not going to cover their own tracks. Yes.
While I think so, I think it is the responsibility of civil society organizations to also look into these killings. So while the army might be doing their independent investigation, I want to believe that other parties, the community will also have parties, civil society organizations, and parties of the law that will look into this matter as well, so that we do not have another case of the Okwama community killing, sort of. So let's just hope that the investigations will go right and the needful will be done. But what struck out for you from these headlines?
Yeah, that's one of the stories, this particular story, because it resonates with what played out in that Delta State. Because at a point, we knew the Nigerian army took over that community, and the report did reach us, says the people were in the forest for a couple of days because they were scared to come out. So what's going to be before this same community is best left to be imagined. Then we've got the story about other issues making the rounds that we'll be looking at
as we look at some of the top stories. And not forgetting, today is also a very strategic day for the judiciary, especially for the new CJ, and we hope for her sake the Supreme Court will do something different. So the Supreme Court will today, make a final judgment as regards the disputes that arose from the conduct of the governorship elections in Bayelsa and Kogi,
respectively.
So we'll be looking keenly to see what's going to play out. Already, the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, during the sign-off valedictory speech for the outgoing CJN, told us the outgoing CJN is a man of integrity, gave him all the good words. But
are you disputing the fact that the outgoing CJN is a man of integrity?
I'm not disputing the fact. I'm only looking at some of the reports we got and the survey placing the judiciary as one of the most corrupt agencies, and also the litany of conflicting rulings we've seen over time in the last 6 months. The Kanu Emeritus is a perfect example. The Rivers crisis playing out, the fact that the Constitution states clearly what should be done. And we expected, there were a lot of calls by other statesmen, Edwin Clark and co., to say the Nigerian police force is expected to do the needful and ensure the 27 lawmakers are shown the way out as regards what the Constitution says. But we didn't see that happen. Rather, the police are backing the 27 lawmakers. So there are a lot of issues that makes you wonder how sincere. And if the CJN outgoing had told us that as long as the judiciary, they're not well paid, the lawyers and judges, we shouldn't expect the best from them. It makes you wonder. There are other professional bodies, there are other very strategic bodies that are not also well paid. Would they say because they're not well paid, so they're going to subvert justice, or you're not going to be guaranteed of justice? So it's very disturbing. So when you look at all those factors, then for someone to come out and tell you plainly that the judiciary is well and good, or the man who is in charge of the judiciary has done a fantastic job, there's no doubt he must have had his own pluses. But this scorecard doesn't say in 90%, it says otherwise. And not forgetting the recent judges that were appointed, we had his own siblings, even the FCT ministers. So it's like I wash my back, you wash your back. So it makes the judiciary
questionable.
Very questionable. Yeah.
So let's look at Leadership Friday. Of course, it's Friday. Let's look at the top stories that we have on the Leadership Friday. Big story here says, Northern elders fret over kidnap and killing of monarchs. The rider says, condemned murder of Sarkin Gobi, situation worrisome, say Abbas. Governor Aliyu. Also, North must find solution to insecurity now. Shehu Sani there saying that the North must begin to look into insecurity. Anthony,
well,
you want to react to that story?
In the past couple of days, the studios back, there was a story saying Northern elders are saying they would be having a summit where they will be looking at, but the interesting part is the rider had to do with 2027 first. They want to strategize ahead of 2027. And the question is, does the 2027 elections determine why insecurity has to end in enough? And over time, the Northern leaders have been accused of being part of the problem. The fact that they've used this person's armed this youth with these guns for political gains, and after they get elected, they don't have a way of mopping up these arms from these youths, and because these youths are not gainfully employed, they use these weapons the best way they can to eke living, and so this insecurity continues to fester, and so we're hoping that now that the Northern leaders have accepted the fact that yes, they are part of the problem, probably it will be easier for them to get the remedies to solve this problem. But it's very important that the killings. For instance, the recent hashtag End Bad Governance protest, we saw that it was just in the northern region that it got very violent and very destructive. So it tells you something is truly wrong, and the northern leaders and everyone, not just the northern leaders, the government and every Nigerian has to join hands to ensure that things are turned around for the good of not just the region, but the entire country.
Yeah, and then we have a couple of headlines as well here on the Daily Friday. It says, Emir of Ilorin lands Abdurazak's leadership style. Chinese firm seizes another Nigeria's jet in Canada, another presidential jet in Canada. And lastly, we have National Hospital plans world-class healthcare delivery.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier on, the fact that we expected the National Hospital to be talking towards the fact that they provide more quality health care for Nigerians at an affordable rate, rather than focus on the elites that already have alternatives and the financial power to seek alternative health care. Okay. But at the same time, it's also good. Probably that would allow Mr. President and others not to have to seek for medical attention overseas, and so reduce the flight of our foreign reserves by staying put at National Hospital and receiving care, and probably that will make the government also invest more in the medical sector and also probably pay our health workers better so that we have less exodus of health professionals.
I think the reason why we have the exodus of healthcare professionals would be because of their welfare, particularly welfare and a system that is inclusive, that includes and acknowledges better work environment. And so, the policy that was initially initiated to refrain healthcare practitioners from moving out of the country or, leaving for other climes was to ensure that we have more health professionals here. But it has sparked a whole lot of reactions. Some people are saying that while you're trying to refrain medical practitioners from leaving the country, why not put a policy in place that ensures that no government officials travels outside of the country and they receive that same treatment they go outside to. But this is a good move by national hospitals planning world-class healthcare facilities. I want to believe, Anthony, you're chuckling right now. Yeah. I want to believe that the government will see to it and do the needful, put in necessary support to ensure that we, to an extent, have a better healthcare system for an average
we need it a lot at the rural areas. All right, that's that note, we're going to call it a wrap on today's edition of the program, Global Morning. I want to say thank you to Hazia Suleiman, who joined us via Zoom from Gombe State to air his views as regards saving retirees, the challenges faced, and the remedies or solutions. We also did look at the insecurity at the subnational levels, especially with the recent spate of killings of district heads and other Nigerians at the local levels. And also want to say a big thank you to the entire production team for helping us come good to you this morning. And we are urging you to enjoy the rest of your day. My name is Anthony Momodio.
And I'm Queen Agaba. Do have a beautiful day ahead.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.